Put on your seatbelt. There is, unsurprisingly, quite a bit happening between Trump's chart and the USA chart. The most obvious astrological connection between Trump's planets and the USA's is his configuration featuring Sun, Uranus, North Node, opposite Moon, South Node, triggering the US Mars and thus stirring the US anger and combativeness. You can argue that since the US Mars in Gemini in the US 7th all by itself suggests the country is by nature always ready to engage in anything from vigorous to violent conversation, Mars being the energetic all the way to warlike force, and then Gemini the sign of communication, along comes Donald Trump with 5 key horoscope points to turn this on, and there you have it. Of course, already at the US birth, the Mars is challenged by a Neptune square, so the country itself is conflicted in regard to its idealistic vision of itself, Neptune. But a figure like Trump is really going to emphasize this conflict. And notice that in its transit, Neptune is now fully turning on this square by opposing Neptune and squaring Mars from Pisces. This tells us 2020 is the year it all comes to a head, because it's when Neptune reaches the aspecting degrees. And because Neptune is coming from the US 10th house and squaring Mars, he's going to run into serious resistance, and indeed he has. Millions and millions have purchased shares in his enterprise to nowhere, but yet millions more have resisted him. During 2020, the transit of Neptune definitely isn't helpful to Trump because of this. Nevertheless, I do want to stress that all of these planets cutting across the USA 1st and 7th are a testament to Trump's allure and his absolutely genuine appeal to many in this country. With his Sagittarius Moon coming from his birth 5th of natural performative self-expression, many in this country will feel a strong identification with his Moon in Sagittarius, common man's philosophy, as well as the evangelizing typical of this sign, and being a Sag, frequently with a dose of comedy, often vulgar. Of course, once again we see the polarity in that some will love this and some will hate it. Trump's 3-planet Cancer trio, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn, connect to the 4 USA Cancer positions. Trump's Mercury near America's Sun, Jupiter, Venus, which are always benefic forces, suggests that he's going to find traction because his words will resonate and many will find the message alluring and compelling. Trump's Saturn on the US Mercury is more complicated. My read is that initially his words and rhetoric might seem like some kind of solid homeland organization and defense plan, Saturn. But in time, Saturn tends to feel oppressive depending on whose Saturn it is and whose planet it is landing on. Trump's connection to any kind of true Saturn, in the sense of order and discipline, is practically non-existent, so the country will sooner or later find this aspect extremely annoying and will turn against him. And don't forget, the US Pluto lurking on the other side, ready to pounce, another negative for Trump. In 2020, the 3-planet Capricorn conjunction has been transiting opposite this Saturn-Mercury conjunction, which has obviously been very hard on the country, but also on Trump, and I think to his great detriment.